InvestorIdeas.com podcast. Good afternoon and welcome to another InvestorIdeas.com podcast following cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. Today's podcast features an interview with Cassandra Farrington, CEO and co-founder of Marijuana Business Daily, where we discuss the MJ BizCon 2018 as well as the future of the cannabis industry.
So I'm here with Cassandra Farrington, who's CEO of MJ Biz Daily. Obviously, this is your conference, so how's it going so far? As far as compared to other years, maybe?
It's been an amazing event this year, as always. My answer to that is always when somebody says, how's your conference going? My answer to that is, well, how is your conference going? Because if it's going great for you, then it's going great for me. And all across the hall, I hear that it's going great.
Yeah, I think that's almost everyone who I've done interviews with or talked to here has said that they're very impressed by what's going on here and especially the turnout.
It's been a phenomenal response yet again this year, and I think what we're seeing is a couple of things. The people here are here 2 years ago as first-time attendees in the educational sessions and understanding more about the industry. They were back here last year with a business plan and with looking for partnership and looking for vendors and looking for investment. And this year they're back as exhibitors and they're bringing a team of people. And we're seeing new people who have been attracted by all of the normalization of the cannabis conversation across this country and honestly across the world are here as first-time attendees, and that's continuing to cycle through the industry.
Yeah, it's definitely the evolution of the cannabis sector. You can see that. I'm sure, again, this isn't news to you. You've been in this space for a while, and you're definitely one of the pioneers for coming into this space, and especially focusing more on the actual business side as opposed to just the OG cannabis culture blog side. How are you finding that's changed over the years that you've been involved? Is there a lot more conversations now than when you originally started, and how's the consumer or investor knowledge changed?
Sure. Well, when we started this conference, what you were just talking about was exactly the reason why we started it. We were out with our in Marijuana Business Daily, what has become Marijuana Business Daily, digital business news site, and what we were hearing from the people we were talking to as sources and the people we were targeting as our readers, that they needed a place to get together where they could have an actual professional business conversation. They couldn't take an investor to the High Times Cannabis Cup and say, isn't this awesome? Give me $10 million. But when we started having these MJ BizCon events, it very quickly became a space where an investor can walk in here and say, yeah, not only can you have $10 million, but do you have room in your raise for another $5 million?
How have you found obviously you're in Nevada, this is a great place, and in Vegas, great place for this expo. You do conferences in a few other locations as well. Are you guys going to be expanding more internationally with that in the future? Is that the plan?
The answer to all of that is yes. This event, this MJ BizCon event, will continue to be housed here in Las Vegas. This is a phenomenal place to get the entirety of the industry together in a fantastic town that is a very conducive place to hold an extremely large convention, which is what MJ BizCon now is and is only going to continue to get bigger. So we did that very mindfully, understanding a few years ago that this was going to be the growth of this marketplace, and we needed to find great partnerships and homes here in Las Vegas to make that happen. The other events that we host other places have different feels. They are completely differently focused. Our MJ BizCon Next event is, the analogy is that if this MJ BizCon event is CES, that MJ BizCon Next event is South by Southwest. It's all about the future. It's all about the innovation in the industry. It's all about what's happening next in cannabis, and it's an executive level event, and it's got other things that's associated with that. And then the international picture, you mentioned that as well. The globalization of cannabis is happening very quickly, and we are specifically serving that market as well with not only conference events, and this goes across the board, not only with conference events, but with digital news and magazine offerings and reports.
Yeah, I know you guys have a sort of local and international section on
absolutely.
Your website that focuses on the two different sectors, just because there is such a broad spectrum that's being affected by this industry.
There absolutely is.
So what are some of the biggest things, just because you're well versed in the industry, that you're finding are exciting, either legislative wise or company wise, that are coming through the market and maybe people can expect to see over the next year or so?
Yeah, so I think that the trends that we're going to see on the next year, there's going to be a lot of focus on that international market, how people expand their own interests internationally, how they support development of those markets all around the world, because that's really what this is about. It's about nurturing and developing individual cannabis industries in each of those countries to then form this bigger global picture. So that's going to continue to be something to watch. The hemp industry is going to continue to just really take root. No pun intended, but it's going to continue to grow and become something that not only serves the wellness marketplace through CBDs, but also, the biofuels and all of the textile implications of it, and hempcrete and bioplastics and things like that, which honestly, it could revolutionize the Rust Belt of America, and we could change the landscape of the American economy through the hemp industry. And that's something that we've really been looking at and helping our readers understand through our sister publication. And we're putting on a conference about that next year too. So we're kind of busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's an awesome quote as well, just because I know a few of the people that I've talked to here who are specifically in the hemp industry have said almost exactly that the chance to change the farming community in the U.S. very specifically, who has such a struggling industry right now. I know the problems with the corn basically manufacturing it's a real struggle, and it almost indentures those farmers into that industry, whereas this would give them an actual opportunity to start making some success, as well as start actually having some growth in those parts of the country that really are being lost.
That are struggling, and legitimately struggling, and nobody wants that for anybody. We have an amazing opportunity in the broad umbrella of the cannabis industry, including both the marijuana side and the hemp side. There is such an amazing opportunity to really change the face of the world, and that doesn't come along very often.
Just because you've been informing consumers and investors for a long time in this space, how have you found, is the knowledge gap still much to be desired, or are people starting to actually be aware? I know that right now, the classic example is there's so much talk about CBD and THC that I find it's very overhyped compared to the actual efficacy of the products coming out onto the market. Are you finding that consumers and investors are still just following the hype, or are people actually starting to have intricate questions and some real knowledge about this space?
You're seeing plenty of both. There are a lot of very well-educated consumers, as well as very vocal scientists who are explaining what is real, what is not real, and what we don't know. And that third category, what we don't actually know, is the biggest piece of the pie by far. And one of the things that's so exciting about what's going on here is the opportunity to normalize the laws so we can really study it, understand what's going on, and just continue to push that into the marketplace, real knowledge, so people can truly take advantage.
Yeah, I know I listened to a couple of speakers that you had at the conference who talked about exactly that, the 1,001 components of cannabis, and we know about 2 to 3, and maybe getting close to around 10 to 15 that we know are in there, but we really don't know how to extract them properly, how to get those components into edibles or different components, and also what the effects are.
Right. There's so much innovation yet to happen in this industry, and one of the things that makes it really exciting is, harken back to the tech industry, which is often used as an analogy for how quickly this industry has grown, which I think is a fair one. Like that .com boom, we are seeing, our generation's .com boom through the cannabis space. The difference is that there is a real product behind this boom. We're not selling eyeballs. We're not selling traffic. It's not this kind of nebulous idea. There is a real, actual product at the end of the value chain here.
Yeah, there's actual attainable value that comes out of this. Just on a final thought, what do you think? Just because there is so much legislative changes going on in the market right now, what do you think, speculatively speaking, of course, are going to be the biggest markets moving forward? as far as which countries are going to see maybe the most potential growth, or where do you see the biggest innovations coming from?
Israel is just churning out the science and the innovation on that front. Nobody beats the United States in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation in terms of businesses and business ideas.
Especially for IP properties.
We are currently have this, green curtain maybe instead of an iron curtain. I don't know. I just made that up. But, that we do have this artificial block here in place. And as soon as that gets lifted, the United States will start taking back that territory, I think, from where it has gone in other countries.
So thank you so much for talking, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.